Come here. This is episode 4 of Beyond the Pieces, where we're your hosts. He's Xavi, I'm Law, and today we're going to be talking about self growth and personal development as always. But before we get into the video, don't forget to leave a like, share, comment. Please leave a comment. We really want to hear what you're thinking. So, but without further ado, here's the new episode. Shh. What's up, Zav?
What's up, man?
So we've talked about all these other topics on our previous episodes, but I think this time it's time we go ahead and dive into how to be consistent and how to keep things consistent in your life, right? Whether that be your routine, whatever it is, right? So from your personal experience, is there anything that you do that helps you be consistent with what you deem to be successful?
Yeah. And I mean, I'd say the biggest thing for me really is what am I look at what am I trying to be consistent towards, you know? So for me, I mean, if we're talking about having a goal, right? If our goal is to lose weight, and so we need to consistently be in the gym. Well, that's hard to be consistent in the gym if you're really not that passionate about your goal. So I think that's what it is evaluate your goal. Is that really what you want? Okay. And maybe be even more, a little bit more specific on it. I don't know.
So more so asking why, like why you want that
Right.
that routine. I
Yeah.
think I think for me personally, it's more so for consistency, just being able to do it over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
It is the why, like you said, like it is the like I do go to the gym, so people ask, why or how am I able to? How am I like why am I working out? And I
Right.
tell them because when I have children in the future, I would like the ability to play with them, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
want to be so tight in my muscular structure or so out of shape that I'm out of breath and I'm too out of breath to play with them, or I'll hurt myself trying to play with them, right? So like that's what keeps me going, understanding like I don't know when that time will come, but it's coming and I'd rather be prepared for it.
So what I'm understanding from what you're saying is you don't want your kid to grow up and be able to beat you in a game of 1v1 in basketball or something.
I mean,
Um,
by the time he should be skilled enough to beat me in the game of 1-on-1, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm gonna pull the old man card.
mm,
I'm playing. Not today. I got you though. I got you. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So
Or quit the game when you're still up.
correct. Go out on top.
Mhm. Yeah.
Ride out into the sunset. Yeah. So yeah. I much rather that though, because
Yeah.
I just remember my dad telling me like I wish I could have played with y'all a little more, and I'm like I think that is something you miss later on. Having that time to play, because once they grown, they grown. You know. Um.
But that goal is enough for you. That goal of being able to just be healthy enough to keep up with your kids. That's enough to keep you going in the gym
Correct.
on a weekly basis.
Correct. Even when I don't want to, it helped me be consistent because I understand what the end goal is. Right. The end goal is that I can be 85 at my great grandchildren's wedding, and I can still hit the dance floor if I so choose. Right.
Right.
Um.
Step out for the one
But I
time.
understand that I understand that it's gonna take some me doing some stuff in the in between that I might not want to do, right? And when I
Okay.
look at it that way, that this is just some of the in between stuff, then it's like it's gonna be worth it. Cause I'm gonna look
Yeah.
back at 85 with a slice of cake in my hand, standing on the dance floor, be like,
Mm,
yeah, I went to the gym that day. I remember that.
right. That's good, man. That's good. I like yours. I feel like your reason is much more meaningful than what mine would be when at least when we're talking about going to the gym. Obviously, there's going to be different scenarios, right? Like for me, the reason that would keep me in the gym is because I want to be 70 years old and still look. You know what that's all I care about. Like I want somebody to get confused. Like, oh, you said he's how old? That's right. Yeah, I'm 70, but I look 50, but you know what I mean? Like that's what I want it to be. And I want to be, yeah, it's a lot more appearances for me, definitely appearance driven. Um, and that's at the surface level. I think that, if I'm getting really serious, there's obviously, I do want to be able to keep up with my kids. I want to be able to be, uh, a much older individual and not have all these different like health complications that people deal with because they did take care of themselves in different areas of life. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, I mean, when we're just getting back to face value of being consistent, I think it's very important. Find your why. It doesn't matter what everyone else's why is. It doesn't matter. Now, if your why is dependent on off of other people, just realize your why is probably like not that it's wrong, but what I will say, I feel like there's less battery life to your why. There's less battery life to your what's motivating you. I feel like when your motivation is strictly upon you, it doesn't have to do with anybody else. It's what you want, it's what you desire in life. Those, to me, at least from personal experience, those aspirations that I've had, those seem to go much further because they're not dependent off of anybody else but myself. But then sometimes that can stress me out because it's like I don't really have much else to. There's no excuse. You know what I mean? If I don't go, if I don't participate in this, if I don't do this task or do something I said I was going to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, it's on me. So then it can kind of work against yourself. It's kind of like, all right, well, we spoke about in the previous videos about you have to teach yourself to trust yourself, but you could also teach yourself to not trust yourself, and you're kind of losing faith in yourself because you're constantly being like, okay, well, I didn't do it today, and then you go again tomorrow. Like, okay, well, I'll go tomorrow. You didn't do it that day, so you're constantly almost like beating yourself up. Like, all right, well, I can't do it. I won't do it. Rather than, I mean, you set the goal to do the opposite effect. So it's very counterproductive. And I'm only saying it because I've definitely experienced it in different avenues of my life where it's kind of like, for me it was education. So when it came to studying, I would say, like, okay, well, every day I'm going to study. And then certain days, you would have a hectic day, right? Something busy would happen. And then that excuse would be like, all right, well, I had this. I'll go in and I'll study tomorrow. And then you don't study the next day. And then you don't study the next day. All of a sudden, test date comes around and you're unprepared. But it's like, well, yeah, some things came up, but at the end of the day, it was your choice not to. I mean, yeah, you normally study at 7 o'clock on Wednesdays, but this last Wednesday you did get to study at 7 o'clock because this emergency happened. And so when that emergency was done, it only lasted an hour. You could have started studying at 8 o'clock, but you were tired, or you couldn't get your mind off of it. So you decided just to push it off for tomorrow. You'll handle it tomorrow. You know, I think it's easy. It's so much easier to build a habit of inconsistency, especially when you're trying to be consistent. So,
I think too, because you said it, and my uncle brought it to my attention once. He
mm,
was like, he's like, "Did you study today?" And I was like, "No." He was like, "Why not?" Because I was tired. So,
right.
I'm like, "Did you?"
Mm,
I just told you why. Because I was tired. And it's just like, you're going to be tired if you do, you're going to be tired if you don't. So you might as well be tired and do it, you know?
right.
Um, but I think too, with the whole consistency thing, it's about finding new challenges, right? So like going to the gym, it gets kind of boring because you can get into a routine, right? And so because it's boring, you're getting results, but it's not exciting. It's not very thrilling. So it's a dread to go to, right?
Mm,
Which is why typically people who you see stay consistent in like the fitness realm, they don't just go to the gym. They'll do like CrossFit, or they'll go run cross country, or they'll go do something outside the gym that's a
switch it
challenge
up.
to them, right?
Mm,
Just to push them. And so I think you have to do the same thing mentally with yourself, right? And so a lot of the stuff we do mentally, we can do physically, right? So, like, for example, I wanted to build my consistency, right, to keeping my word, right? So I told myself that for 1 week out of every month, cold shower week. And by cold shower week, I mean no hot water on, only cold water. And I only did it from like November to February, right? So only when it's cold outside, right? So it's
Right.
really, really cold. And so the reason I made myself do that is because mentally it was a challenge of, can you stand going through this for 7 days? Right?
Right.
There's and two, I will say it helped open my mind up to being grateful for what I do have, right? Because some people, that's their life. Like, that's their life 30 days a month, right? 31
Yeah.
days a month. So for me to just experience it 7 days out of the month, and me doing it to say, okay, I can do this consistently. I No matter what challenge I may face, no matter how uncomfortable it is, I can still stick to my word that I told myself, right? That I
Right.
could do this. And it does help you build a sense of consistency, because the harder the challenge is, the more you want to attack it. So on the days I really didn't want to get in the cold shower, it's like,
Mm.
so you gonna let a cold shower, like, all it take to whoop you is a cold shower. Cold shower and it's over, huh? And it's
Mm.
like that mindset. You're like, one, two, three, right? And you hit, and then it's like, I will say with a cold shower, it's like an instant pain at first. But the
Yeah.
longer you stay in it and you learn to relax and you learn to breathe, it seems as though it warms up, right? And it's the same way in life, where you go into a new situation, it seems so painful, so scary, and you just feel like it's beating you down, it's overcoming you, and then you take a moment to take a deep breath, and then you realize everything is okay. This is just a new environment. It's just a
That's good,
different
man.
climate, right?
Yeah.
And then you start looking for those, right? Then you start looking for the cold showers. And the thing about life is, a lot of people avoid the cold shower, right? So now they're afraid because it's uncomfortable, and you're running towards it because it's uncomfortable. So now being consistent was uncomfortable for you. Now you're running towards it because that is the new uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's your new daring adventure in life, you know?
Very good, man. That was actually very good. So I think that you kind of hit something, is recognizing that period where you're adapting. You didn't adapt yet. You
Yeah.
are you are literally adapting. So I mean, I'm an athlete as well, so I'm very familiar with cold showers. I'm very cold plunges, whatever you, ice baths, all that. And that first, when you dip, when you even like first, this is what I learned. This is what I learned. This is the method to a cold shower, right? Hey, y'all didn't think, y'all thought this was a video about consistency. We're talking about cold showers, right? So this is with anything: cold plunge, cold shower, ice bath. But I'll talk about an ice bath, right? So what you can't do with an ice bath is you can't dip your toe in, because if you dip your toe in, you're not gonna get in. That's already, you lost the battle, right? Don't just dip your toe in. If you're gonna do it, and then look at that, it's just like life. Don't just dip your toe in. Like,
You
you
gotta go
know
all
what I mean?
in, all or
Actually, so
nothing.
no. So yeah, it's like that. So it's like, okay, you dip your toe in, you realize, whoo, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. So now you're self talking yourself out of it, which is another point I was going to make. I think self talk is huge when it comes to being consistent. But back to the ice bath. So the key is to just literally, like they said, like a cold plunge, plunge. Just get in, just get in, and it doesn't even need to be. It doesn't even need to be like, oh, super fast. What I say is like my dad golfs, and one of his things he said is one fluid movement. Okay, just as fast as you come up is the same way fast you got to come down. So that's what I would say. If you're gonna get in the ice bath, just get in, just boom, okay, and then you just sit there, right, and you just feel everything that's happening to you. So that's where the self talk kicks in. You're like, I'm good, and you start talking to yourself, and people who are listening to you, they start you because it sounds like you're hyperventilating. You're like, okay, I got this. You know what I mean? You're like, you
Yep.
just breathing, right? But then I like, it's good at timing. It's like, all right, so I'm gonna breathe, I'm gonna breathe, I'm gonna breathe, and then you start going, and you start trying to force yourself because you realize the ice is just gonna keep making you breathe like that alone. But
Correct.
if you start trying to take, almost like it's a battle, you know what I mean? It's like I'm gonna let this
Control
ice man.
yourself.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
It's a
like
very control yourself type of environment where it's control your
right,
breathing. Don't let it make you hyperventilate. Control your and life is the same way where life is like discipline yourself, right? You could have a drink, but why are you getting drunk? Like
right,
control yourself. Just
right.
be consistent. You can have fun. Like life is not meant to be a dread, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not meant to just be a roller coaster of fun either, right?
Right.
It's discipline yourself with self-discipline, right? But you got to understand that word and what all it means.
Mm-hmm.
You can have consistency and it can be easy to you because that's just who you are at that point, right?
Right.
Like you said about the self-talk, man, I think so. I used to do this thing too where I would write I am and a goal I would have, right? So let's say my goal um is to find a new job, right? So my goal is to find a new job. I would write, I am going to have a job as a whatever I want a job as by January the 13th, 2025. And then I would say I am willing to give up and write whatever it is I'm willing to discipline myself on or sacrifice in order to get that, right? So I am willing to give up 30 minutes of TV to obtain this goal, right? So
Right.
I'm giving up 30 minutes of TV a day to obtain that goal. And so what you do is you read it at night before you go to bed. I am the whole statement. And then when you get up in the morning, you read it again. But between
Right.
those two time periods, what you do is at night you visualize yourself actually having that happen. So you actually wake up and you get a phone call for a new job, right? Whatever job you start envisioning, like what do you have on? Where were you when you got the phone call? Who called you? What did they sound like? Right? And you start envisioning all these different things, right? Trying to paint as clear a picture as you can until you fall asleep. And then when you
Mm.
wake up, you read the statement again. And so every time you read it out loud, you're also self-talking, right? So you're telling yourself, I am going to do whatever this is, right? And
Right.
so now you're starting to hear yourself, and at first you don't know whether or not you should believe yourself because you're the only person who's heard every lie you've ever told, right? So you hear yourself, but you're like, I don't know if it's true. But as you continue to say it, you say it for a week, you say it for 2 weeks, you start to believe it, right?
Mm.
And when you believe something, you behave differently, right? So now that you're believing what you're saying, your self-talk is more positive because you like, I know I can do this. How do you know you could do this? Because you told you could do it and you believed it, right? And so now it's the consistency of build because now you have, oh, I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that. In order to become those things, you have to build habits that those things have, right? So I am a king. Okay, if you're a king, what is it? What habits do kings have that you also would have to have? Right? And
Yeah.
you're gonna go and seek out those qualities because that's the way you see yourself. So I think if you want to be more consistent, you have to number one. You can try the whole I am thing, but I think it's more so if you're gonna build consistency, understand what it is you're building towards. Right? Who are you trying to be? Right?
Yeah.
If you want to be a doctor, understand you're building towards being a doctor. You're going to start to talk like a doctor. You're going
Right.
to eat like a doctor. You're going to drink like a doctor. You're going to vacation like doctors, right? So whatever that idea is for you, that's what you're going to attempt to build. But you have to understand what that is to you
Yeah.
before you say, "Oh, I'm gonna be consistent." Consistent at what? Why? You don't even like that.
Yeah. So what's
I'm
the
be
point?
I'm gonna be a consistent fitness guru, bro. You don't even like the gym.
Right.
What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. That's
But
good, man.
like I said, if you're a doctor and you're trying to build consistency, going to the gym might be a big part of what you do because you're trying to look a certain part. You're trying to play a certain part, right? It's hard for you to play doctor and you're not healthy. So obviously you would see the gym as part of that lifestyle. So it's not that you love going to the gym, it's you see that as the person you want to become, as part of the person you want to become. So that's the type of activities you partake in.
Yeah, yeah, man. That's good. And you said something earlier. I mean, we touched on self-talk, but it's very important. Like, I mean, really think about it. How when you everyone does it. I don't believe that no one has an inside voice in their head and they're like not talking to themselves, like talking themselves through things. I talk like when I go to the mall, man, I'm walking past certain stores, I'm talking to myself. You know what I mean? I'm just like, okay, that was this store. I don't really need to go there. Or that person looked interesting. Let me like, stuff like that, So self-talk is something I believe we do on a daily basis. That being said, what you said earlier, what are you saying to yourself when you are self-talking? Okay. If all you're saying to yourself is how dumb you are, and that's all you say. Every time you self talk is, man, I'm dumb. I can't get it. I won't ever get it. You're gonna start to believe it. Why? Because that's all you hear. That's all you're telling yourself. That's
Right.
that's all you hear. So I think it's so important, and I don't have kids of my own, but I know, like, really think about, I mean, people who raise their kids well. Okay, and anytime their kid comes home with a report card, right, or say this something, and they're happy, say they come in like, yeah, I did this, I did it, and it's like a B or even a C, right, or they got an A or whatever. They come home, their parents are going to look at it, right, and obviously it's going to come with instruction if it's if the parent believes that their kid could do better or whatnot. But still, what they're not going to be like, oh my God, you're dumb, like, you know what I mean? They're going to look at it and I'm like, oh, good job, you're so smart, you know what I mean? Like, and that's a good parent. That's a parent that's trying to inspire their kid, and it's not even like, it's not lying to their kid, but it's a way of like just constantly putting it in their ear. You are smart. It's giving them affirmations. You know what
You
I'm saying? It's
planting
reaffirming
seeds.
that. It's planting seeds. It's letting them know you are smart. Everything that you want to be, you are capable of, and more. So you think that it stops just because you're a grown man? Just because you're a grown woman, it stops? No. Self-talk still matters. And that's what I think it is, especially when it comes to being consistent. You got to talk yourself through it, man. And I mean, if your life, if you were in my head, you'd probably think I'm living in a video game, man, because how competitive I make everything, man. It's not that I'm making it competitive with someone else. It's just for myself. It's a matter of like, it's a battle, and it's like that feeling of victory that I get from winning is a feeling I want to stay in. I want to stay in a feeling of victory. I want to. But then that doesn't come with me just going through the motions. I'm talking through myself through everything, through every little thing. I have a plan, but with everything I do, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Do this, and then it's kind of like a huddle. Ready, break. You feel me? And then I
Facts.
go, and it either works or it doesn't. But guess what? I thought it through. I thought it was gonna work, and I talked myself through it. If it didn't work, guess what's gonna happen again? I'm gonna talk in my mind again how it didn't work and what I'm gonna do next time. So yeah, man, self talk is extremely important, and we do it. So if you are cognizant of the fact that you are self talking, think about what you're telling yourself. What are you telling yourself?
I think
So,
too, because I'll speak from experience on that. I think too, you if you tie, so to speak, metaphorically, if you tie
right.
your hands behind your back with your words and fight handicap, you stop talking a lot, right? And so what I mean by that is like before I would walk around, I'd be like, man, I hate it, bro. Like I gotta go to work again today.
Mm.
Like I already know what type of day it's about to be. It's about to be a gloomy day today. Like I already know, right? And I would
A
say,
gloomy
I
day.
would, bro, I would say that out loud, like while
Yeah.
I'm getting dressed for work.
Mm.
And so I start watching these videos, and it's like self talk, like don't do this, don't do that, da 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 da. Right? So I'm like, let's see if this really works. So I said,
Yep.
okay. challenge. I am not allowed to say out loud anything negative. I can't stop the way I was looking at it. I can't stop myself from thinking it, but I can stop it before it comes out. Right. So
Yeah.
I'm like, if I don't have anything positive to say, don't say it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. Like I can say, man, I'm like the jug of juice half gone. That's negative. Not allowed to say that. Right. So now I'm like, I start catching myself mid sentence. Right. I'm like, man, this dinner is seasoned like a very gourmet meal. Um, Perhaps the ingredients may not be as fresh, and that is why they may be harder to taste. Right. So translation, bro, this ain't got no seasoning. But
Mm-hmm.
to be positive about it, it's like you got to learn to reword. And so when you start doing that, you start changing the wiring of your brain, bro. Because now it's like, oh, the battery dead. It still has some life left. You know what I mean? Like now we have two
Still some life there.
correct. So it's like you start. It's so cliche, but you truly start seeing the glass as half full instead of half empty.
Yeah.
And it's just because like you fight yourself on being able to so easily say all of these negative phrases. And so now that you can't say them, as humans, we're gonna talk. Communication is our thing, right? So it's about what are you saying? So now if you don't allow the negative to come out, you still gonna talk. So now you're gonna find positive to spit out. And all of a sudden it's gonna become part of your personality because that's just what you do. Right? You've built the habit. And that habit becomes what? Consistent. And then from there all you gotta do is keep your word. First change your words, then keep them.
Right.
You know?
Hmm. This seasoning would suit the taste buds of another individual. Hmm.
Bro, you don't know how it is.
Hmm.
When people find out I'm from Louisiana, they're like, so how's my cooking?
Somebody likes it.
like, oh,
Hmm.
I got a thumbs up. You're right. I give it a thumbs up review.
Hmm. Those are my noises when I'm being like snobby. Hmm. Hmm. And the little head shakes they do. Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah,
Interesting, man. Yeah,
I
that's good
I do
though.
think that that self talk is big, and you gotta find subtle ways to change your words, because then your words
Yeah.
change your thinking. And once you start figuring out how to change the way you think, you cooking with grease then. Oh,
Sure.
you cooking with grease then, hot grease at that.
My kind of leads me to that point of positive and negative self-talk. My dad, he had a study that he was a part of. My dad likes to golf, and he had this study where they had a bunch of golfers, and they set them up like on this golf course or whatever. And I guess the way it was set up, there was like a body of water, but in the middle of the body of water, there was like a land, like a land that you could hit the ball onto, right?
Like an island. Yeah.
Yeah, like an island, right? And what they were told, everyone had a chance. What they were told was to have their mind to think, do not hit the ball in the water. Whatever you do, do not hit the ball in the water. And I had everyone go. Everyone swung. Everyone kept hitting, hitting, hitting. Every single one of them hit the ball in the water. That's what every single one of them were doing. No matter how much they tried, they said, "Oh, all right, do not hit in the water." Bloop, right in the water. Then they said, "All right, now everyone stop. Now I want you to change your mindset. I want you to now change your mindset to believe I'm going to hit the ball on that island. Don't think I'm not going to think, or don't think do not hit it in the water. Think I'm going to hit the ball on the island. Everyone hits again. Every single person had successfully hit at least one ball onto the island. And so what that just shows me is, yes, it shows you the power of self-talk, but it also shows you the power of being positive, man. Like if you're positive, if you actually are thinking positively towards your goal, dude, you are setting yourself up for much more success as opposed to not basically thinking don't mess up. If you're thinking don't mess up, what are the chances you're gonna mess up? It's kind of like with school and with for me it was for I mean I'm gonna be honest, during my undergrad in school it was I was under that whole thing of C's get degrees, right? And yeah, I got C's, but there was times where I was struggling to get a C. You know what I mean? And it was funny. It wasn't until I started dating my wife, who's my wife now, and she's very much an overachiever she's a bookworm, right? So
Hmm.
A's, she expected nothing less than an A, and the mindset to me was kind of like, I mean, I guess, like, yeah, I mean, I liked it, but it was like for me, I just never, I was still on the C's get degrees, right? But then I was like, you know what? This year, I'm not taking anything less than an A, which is crazy because a lot of people think that's a big jump. That's like, okay, well, you were barely getting C's. Wouldn't you think that maybe you would just bump it up to okay, well, I'm gonna get a B. You know what I mean? Nah, man. I was like, well, an A's perfect. That's what I want. So that was my mindset. My last year of college, I'm getting nothing less than an A, and that's exactly what I got. I got nothing less than an A. And there were times well, I would say it was a transition. So it was for my last 2 years. The end of my what is it, like your junior year of college, I got mainly A's, and I think I had like two B's. And I was happy because I was like, wow, man, there was a time where I was struggling to get these D's to C's. You know what I mean? So and then my last year, I got nothing less than an A. And I mean, like the dean's list and this things that I wasn't accustomed to, at least in college. But it was like, okay, so maybe, yes, be positive in your goals, but also raise your standards. Even
Yeah.
if it's something you don't believe is achievable, raise your standards. Don't like, and I, I'll let me let you go in because I have quite a bit of add on that.
But nah, I thought about when you brought up your dad. It
Hmm.
shows what changed. They didn't have a week or 3 4 days to get better between shots. So
Nope.
their physical capability was exactly the same at both times. The
Ah, that's
only
huge,
thing
man.
that changed was their mindset, right? So how many times do we not even knowingly put a limitation on ourselves based on what we think we're capable of, right?
That's
So
good.
that's why I was like that. I thought the point you brought up about your dad was really cool because it's not like they could go. It's not like they had hours of practice and then they shot again. It was like
Yeah,
no, you're the same person you were 10 seconds ago. It's just all we're gonna do. We're gonna change your mindset a little bit and we're gonna give you the same shot.
right.
And it's day and night results. So how many times do we actually have the capabilities where we look around, we say, well, I just don't have the network. I just don't have the funds. I just don't have this. I just don't have that. And it's like you may not have it personally, but I would be willing to bet you know somebody who has it or somebody who can get it or there's something you can use. There's some resource you have that you're not using. Right? So like I hear people all the time, they're like, I don't have no wheels. But everybody you know has a car. So you don't have wheels, but you got gas money. So like put two and two together. So you're limiting you. So
Yeah,
stop it. If
yep,
you want to do something, find a different excuse not to do it, or just say
right.
entirely you don't want to do it or you don't feel like doing it. But
Yeah,
don't limit yourself mentally and let that be your roadblock to
and
oh
that's
I
not to
can't be
say.
consistent because my mom and dad were never consistent or my brother was
Mhm.
never or I was never consistent with my grades in school so I can't be okay
Yeah,
that was yesterday today's a new day
yeah,
you get a
yeah.
refresh today what are you gonna do with it
That's real good, man. And I don't think it's to say that it doesn't work. It's not that it doesn't work. I just, I mean, if you were given tools to increase your chances and success, wouldn't you take it? You know what I mean?
Right?
Like, unless you didn't really want it, and this is all just a game to you, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, this is
but
for
like,
play.
yeah, like I would like to think that if you really wanted something in life and you're setting goals, especially, I mean, this is a whole new year. I would like to think that the goals that you set, you actually want to achieve, and it's not just for looks and appearances. So if that's the case, I mean, yeah, like if you're setting limitations on your own goal, it's kind of like, well, are you setting those limitations because you think that you're not going to be able to do it anyway? You
Correct.
know, so already it's like maybe take some more time. Sit and think about it some more. Maybe you need some more time on it. And it's not a diss to whoever you are or whatever. It doesn't matter how long you take, but take your time. Take your time and make sure that the goal that you set for yourself is something that is worth it for you. Because
And
that's what is
I
gonna
will
build it
say
for
too, whatever goal you set, make sure you visualize the result as clearly as possible.
you. Hmm.
Right? So
Hmm.
like a lot of people say they want these type of jobs where you can go work an hour, 2 hours a week.
Yeah.
Cool. That's fine. But what are you doing with the other hours you have in that week? Because if you just think that, oh, what I'm doing is going to pay so well, and even if you do have unlimited amount, more than you can spend, whatever, whatever, are you happy or are you distracted and the spending is your distraction? You know, and you can get to a point where you can be consistent, you can be chasing your goal, but you never actually believed it could get this good for you. And so
Hmm.
it's like, think it all the way through. That way when you being consistent, it's so much easier to just keep it up when you see it
Yeah.
start to unfold in front of you, you know?
And once you're in that full stride of, okay, I'm consistent, I've been doing this for 2 weeks straight now, don't let the reactions of other people affect your consistency, man.
Preach to them, brother.
Yeah, because that's like, I think that's what it does. Because people are gonna realize too, and I'm gonna be honest with you, sometimes it could be people close to you. It could be people you never thought, and it's not that they're doing it on purpose, but it's like the opinions, the way people don't. I don't think people realize the gravity, the seriousness of their words on somebody who's motivated. Because, and it could be multiple different reasons. It could just be that someone just doesn't know what they said. But sometimes it could be that they know exactly what they said, and the reason they are trying to say anything to affect what you got going on, it's because they don't think that they could do it themselves, and if they can't do it, you can't do it.
They
You
see it
know,
as a threat.
so and that some of us feed off of that of being seen as a threat. Some of us do. Some of us get scared by it. Some of us get demotivated by it. Um, and some of us are inconsistent with that. Like sometimes I'm gonna feel inspired by the fact that you seem to be
I'm a threat.
bothered by why, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But then sometimes it's actually gonna hit me and it's gonna be like, man, maybe am I going too hard? Do I need to relax a little bit? And so and I'll give a good example, right? And I'll say a good mom loves their child, right? And a good mom cares about their child. And so I'll give an example of, let's say, um say you actually have a strict regimen, right? You have a strict regimen with the gym, okay? And I like where we keep going to the gym, but I feel like the gym is easy to talk about, right?
Big flex.
Right. So we're talking about the gym. You have a strict regimen of going to the gym or sports or whatever it is, but you have a strict regimen, right? You have a
Right.
curriculum, you have a plan, you have a meal plan, you have a schedule, all this, all that. Okay. Your mom sees you going, right? There's going to be times, especially if you're pushing yourself, where you're going to come home and you're going to be sore. That's going to happen. Right. So you come home and you're going to be sore. Your mom loves you and doesn't want to see you in pain, but all she sees is my son's in pain. My daughter's in pain. So what she's going to look at is, man, maybe you need to calm down. Maybe you need to take it easy. maybe you need to, you know what I'm saying? Like she doesn't know your curriculum. She doesn't know your, all she sees is the fact that you are
In pain.
sore when you get up. You're sore when you get up from the chair from eating dinner. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So
Uh-huh.
she's just concerned about your well-being, but she doesn't know that what you're working for. She doesn't know exactly, and she probably never will. Why? Because it's not her goal, it's your goal. Right? But she's gonna be like, okay, well, maybe take it easy. It sounds like you're going really hard. Are you sure what you're doing is helpful? This and that? Okay. And I know we're kind of going on a fine line of like, I know a mother's always right, right?
Hmm.
But what I'm trying to get at is she doesn't understand your goal. All she understands is your well being. And if she's gonna see that you're sore, she's gonna tell you to calm down a little bit. So if you calm down a little bit, if your calming down is like, okay, well, maybe I'm not gonna go to the gym on this day that I have this schedule. I'm fine. I know I could do it. I'm not necessarily in pain. I'm sore. There's a difference between being in pain and being in sore. But because of your conversation with your mom, it's gonna be like, all right, well, let me buckle it down. Not because you genuinely feel like you need to, but because you feel like you need to satisfy her. You know what I mean? And what I'm not trying to get here is like everyone, oh, all right, everyone go out there and disobey your moms. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is, is there are going to be people who almost believe that your determination is like a detriment. You know what I mean? And it's just, and it will take some evaluation. Yes, evaluate yourself, but at the end of the day, you are doing exactly what you see fit to get to where you want to be. As long as it's healthy and you are doing your research, but don't let people even, it's going to happen. It's going to happen from people that love you the most, where it's kind of like, you
Balance is
know,
a reward of focus.
elaborate on that.
So, right, like you want abundance, right? But if you have abundance all the time, you forget what lack feels like, right? So you
Right.
don't appreciate the abundance anymore. So what
Right.
I mean when I say balance is a reward of focus, you get to be balanced, right? You get to have the family time and the sports time
Yeah.
after you focus so long on the sports that you can do it second nature. Because
Mm.
now the family time is what you get to is what you get to focus, right?
Yeah.
And so you find a balance in life, but you only get the balance after you focus.
Right.
So balance is a reward of focus. It don't look it looks like you focusing or like you're going like you said like you're going too hard to people outside because
Yeah.
they're looking at your level of balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for them they're looking at you and they're like, "Yeah, you're off balance."
Yeah.
And you should be off balance if you're focused, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're opposites, but you need both. They're like a yin and a yang, right? You don't want too much focus because then you're never balanced. But you don't want too much balance because then you're never focused,
Mm.
right? It's just like with a camera lens. If I focus on something, I can amplify it really well, right? I can show you every detail. But if I have it balanced, nothing's focused. There's nothing specifically that you're dialed in on, right?
Yeah.
So balance is a reward of focus. But
It's good.
I think
Yeah.
that's where you were going with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's
Um,
just, it's just, I mean, there's just going to be people who don't understand it. There's going to be
because they're
people who
not the
don't
ones
understand.
holding the camera, right? You're
Mm-mm.
holding the camera. You have to take
It's
the picture.
yours.
It's yours.
It's yours. And you got to think about it too, especially when it's coming from people. If it's coming from people who are much older than you or who are where you want to be, you know, there was a time where they were in the same boat. They were in the same boat where they had something that they were extremely motivated by or something that they really wanted to do. And for them, they either were successful or not when it came to what they wanted to do. If they were successful, they probably understand you a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Correct.
They probably and people have had those conversations. You know when you were talking to someone who knows who understands not extends what you understands you specifically, but they understand the process of what you're going through. And for some reason, those ones are the ones offering you tools to stay in it. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, what can I do for you? Do you
Correct.
need, you know what I mean? It's like, So for my mom, she was a massage therapist. So it wasn't that she was just telling me, oh, well, I need to take it easy. She was like, okay, well, I'm a massage therapist. He's clearly not going to listen if if I tell him, you know what I mean, to, oh, maybe you should take today's practice off. She would be like, okay, well, if he's going to continue to go, we're going to schedule some times where he goes through massage therapy with me so that when he goes to practice, he is in a much better state than he initially was. You know what I mean? So it
Hmm.
was, are people really trying to help you stay consistent, or are they trying to stop you? And really think about it. So in that case, I guess in that example of, the mother trying to tell her kid to calm down or to take it easy, it's a matter of, okay, take it. He's not going to take it easy, but what can I give him? What advice can I give him? What can I set up? When he comes home from practice, am I going to have a meal ready for him, so he can carb load, this and that? Like, it's a matter of who who is actually trying to help you. But there's going to be both. There's going to be people who are trying to help you. There's going to be people who are trying to demotivate you and stop you. Um, and if they're trying to stop you, there's, like I said, there's different ways you could take it. Some of us actually fall into it. Some of us thrive off of that. It's kind of like, oh, they want me to stop. I must be doing something right. You know what I mean? So it's all about, who you are. It's all about who you are, and you don't need to be like that. I'm the type of person that's like that, kind of like I would like, and I used to see it in school where people were like, well, man, I got so many haters, but they don't got haters. Like, no, they didn't really have haters. They just like to talk about it. But if I actually had, and it was funny because I was a pretty successful athlete, especially in high school. If I legitimately had haters that were to my face, like, I bet you can't do it, you're not gonna win state, dude. Like, though, my ego probably went through the roof. I'm like, oh, who said I can't do it? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I
but
want the receipts now.
yeah, but that was just the type of person I am. So it's just like, evaluate yourself. If that's the type of person you are, um, obviously separate yourself. If you're the type of person to to really sulk in that and like believe what other people are saying about you, distance yourselves from people who are trying to stop you from where you want to be, and surround yourselves with more people who want to be successful. It's like that whole thing, iron sharpens iron. Why can I not say iron? Um, but
Birds of a feather
that's
flock
such a real
together.
comment, man. And it's not a matter, and let's say you are the sharpest, out, right? And you feel that maybe, your friends or whoever is are kind of like not at the same wavelength as you when it comes to whatever you want to do, right? I'm not saying be selfish and completely leave them, but kind of like what you said earlier about having a balance, right? Okay, if this is what you want to do and you feel like they're determined to what your success is, either you need to make a decision to hold them to a higher standard of like, yo, this is where I want to be. This is where we're capable of. But I don't think that I'm only capable of doing this. You are too. Let's do this together. And you start being that kind of pull to like, all right, let's go. Me and you, we're going to pull up in an upwards trajectory. Now, if it's a matter of people are harming you and you say your goal is to do better in school, but every night they want to drink and get drunk and skip class, or they're over here telling you, oh, don't go to class today, man, just skip. Mm, you have a decision, and it's a hard decision for some. For others, it's like, all right, that's it. I don't want to be, because what I'm not gonna do is end up like you, and you're over here failing courses. You're over here complaining because you're not succeeding in the gym. You're not succeeding in your sport. You're not succeeding in life. Why would I want to? Why would I want to go down with you? There's gonna be something that people have to say. But what I'm trying to say is I do believe that if you have a group of people, if you want to still maintain friendships and still be consistent with your goals, either bring them along or keep going whether they join or not. It's gonna have to happen. And surround yourselves by people who want to be like you. I want to be an attorney. So what did I do? I surrounded myself by attorneys. I'm learning so much about being an attorney and I'm not even there yet. Right? So what do you want to do in life? And if you don't know what you want to do in life, we have three other videos that you got to go to, man. You know what I mean? So check it
And
out. I mean,
that's smooth Zavi for y'all just sliding in a little. You behind. That's what he was trying to
yeah,
tell y'all. You a
just you
few
behind, but
episodes
guess what?
behind if you just
You
joining.
behind, but
But
you
we're
can
great
still,
to have. We're happy to have you here.
yeah,
Come
yeah,
back
you can
next
still
week too
catch up.
after you finish rewatching the previous weeks you wouldn't have for because it was wonderful content.
Seriously, man. Seriously, this is just real, man. I mean, and I think there's a reason why I don't believe in coincidence, but there's a reason why we touched on that of you know it's just when you really want something in life, there's sacrifices that have to be made, and sometimes the sacrifices that have to be made are others. They sacrifice themselves in your life, and
I think
it's upon you.
it, it all come down to, I guess as a kid, you kind of ask yourself like, what would you do for this? What would you do for that?
Mm,
But when you're an adult, it's like some of them questions become real, and
yep.
you'll start to see how moral you are and how moral the people around you are. And so
Yes.
just because you disconnect from somebody, that don't mean that y'all have to come to a misunderstanding. It's okay to outgrow somebody, right? And so something that they might be willing to do for something they want, you may not be willing to do, right? And that
Yeah.
could be they could be willing to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to have a 6 figure income.
Yep.
You might not be willing to do that, and that's okay. But I think like I said, as you get older, you definitely see it's not just a play question no more. Like, what would you do for this? What would you do for that? It's a real life. You have this opportunity. What are you willing to do for it? And I'm not suggesting anybody lose their morals or their morality or their virtues. But I think you have to understand what it is you're willing to do before somebody presents you with an opportunity and it's a situation you hadn't really thought through before. Right. So this is your first time trying to think something through on that scale. I think you do better if you're a little more prepared. Cause it's some stuff that I feel like I could have done for a lot of financial gain earlier in my life, and I just couldn't do it because it didn't morally feel right to me. And so, but looking back, I don't regret those decisions. I'm actually glad I was too uncomfortable morally to do some of the stuff to make them because the money is gonna come and go. It's always gonna come and go. But I think the way you make people feel and the way you treat people is a one time thing. You can treat me bad one time and great the rest of my life. I'll always remember the first way you treated me. So
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I just think
It's
like you said, you gotta find it for you. You gotta find your consistency, you gotta find your why, you gotta find your reason, you gotta find your moral compass and follow it, right? It's inside of you. You know right from wrong. You know left from right. You know up from down. So
yeah, man.
just trust it. Just trust it. Trust that you know it. you
You'll
know.
see the fruit. You will.
Don't think you'll know it all. Don't think that
Yeah.
I see it, so I know you don't know everything. You may know a
Mhm.
lot, but you do not know everything. So there's always something to be learned. And don't always think your teacher has to be older than you. Your teacher can be younger.
That's
Your
good.
your teacher can be the same age. Right, a wise man learn more from a fool than a fool ever think to learn from a wise man. Right.
Mm,
So if I can't look at a fool and learn something, what that say about me?
mm.
So it's always a lesson to be learned. Just never think that you know everything. Always be open minded. Always be curious, asking questions. Right. It's a lot of stuff to learn in this world. Right. Never stop asking questions. The answer is somewhere. It's just about if you're willing to go look for it, if you're willing to go find it. So be consistent though, because obviously you're not gonna find groundbreaking answers in a Google search in 2 minutes, right? You're gonna have to go do some groundbreaking research if you want some groundbreaking results, right? Um, it's not gonna. It might not be fun at first, but it always be fun in the end. And I think that's what make it so enjoyable. Is that the harder something is, if it kind of seemed like the harder you look back and laugh. Like remember the time we, and it's like, bro, that was so stupid. Like how did we even? And it's like, but that was a great memory. You do it all over again, you know.
Yeah.
So
See the fruit. All right. With that, thank you very much for watching this video. We hope that you took something from it. You know, whatever, whoever you are, we hope that you had your piece. Maybe your piece was heard today. But stay tuned. There is more. There's more to come. We will be dropping videos every Thursday. So check us next Thursday. And with that, have a good rest of your day.